Let me jump quickly to another subject, values, the subject of integrity, responsibility, truth-telling, and give me your view of what is needed in those areas. I know here at the Page Center, which is why we're gathering at Penn State at this time, the board of the Page Center, trying to figure out how best to carry out our responsibility and to elevate the Page Center to an even higher standard. But give me off-the-cuff thoughts about values, responsibility, integrity. What do you think about when you focus on those issues?
Well, I'm going to come at that question from a couple of different angles. One is that public relations as a skill set, if you want to call it that, has grown enormously, and it has morphed into communications, communicator. And I think my idea of integrity and values and whatnot has to do with the counseling function, not as the resident saint, for goodness sakes,
no,
but to be in that policy-making loop that includes the communications of policy, but also the making of policy. So I think, for my mind, the big role that the communication school at Penn State is going to play in the locating the Page Center here is that I think a prestigious academic institution that gives you great leverage and gives you the right to talk about integrity and ethics. And so I think that the center here at Penn State, the Page Center, can be enormously influential. Now, as to what is integrity and how do you do it in the business world and that sort of thing, which I hope will be the output. The how-tos will come out of the Page Center as well. But to my mind, it's pretty easy to think in terms of some old-fashioned horse sense. Companies that do right do better. I mean, that's been documented, through almost a century now, and it's not, when I say do better, meaning their bottom line. Right. They make money for the share owners, right. And they do it consistently, which is really important, and not the peaks and valleys. So that's kind of a glib way to say it, that the ones who do right do better, but it's documented. The other thing is there's some simple rules, and they pretty much come out of the Page principles, but they're, other people have said them in other language and using other words. The new hot button, as you know, is transparency. Well, that had old-fashioned meanings, but it meant all business in a democratic society, blah, 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 right. Your customers, your share owners, your constituencies have a right to get an explanation of what you're doing when they want an explanation. So, what's so magic about that? And yet we have gotten away from it too much, I think, in modern times, where it's almost as though slickness of communications will pull you through, whether it's marketing or whether it's in PR. And we know it doesn't. It doesn't. You may get away with it for a little while, but you know, sooner or later you're going to slip on a banana peel if, you know, if it's not real. So it's telling the truth. It's being upfront with your employees, with your share owners. Employees, by the way, you know this from your J&J days, and I know this. The first people who know that the emperor has no clothes are the employees. And once they decide that,
It's downhill.
it's downhill because they will let that be known
Right.
to everybody. So if you're a company that employs a lot of people, it's very important, the integrity thing, the transparency thing, the upfront thing. Really, you start. I think you build it off of your internal communications.
But the person in charge of public relations for the company, the person who has access to the chairman, they're in a wonderful position to be the reminder, to be the keeper of the principles that the company is
Yes.
striving for, right?
Yes, they are. Absolutely, and I think a friend of mine by the name of Larry Foster used to talk about that a lot. that the chief public relations officer, by whatever title, is the only one in the top echelon of senior management whose job it is to think like the CEO would think. The others, whether it's chief financial officer or chief marketing officer or whatever, are advocates, as they should be, of
Right.
what they're doing. And you and I know that in some of the discussions, we called it the office of the chairman, but the executive committee, whatever. The problem in making bad decisions and the opportunity to make good decisions is not a matter that you got a bunch of crooks in the room who all want to do something bad. It isn't that. That you're trying to thrash out a strategy or a decision or a way to present a decision, and so it's not people sitting around a table trying to figure out how they can get by with something. It's people advocating different solutions to the same problem from their point of view. And the one person in the room who can be useful to the CEO is the chief public relations officer, because he or she is not invested in any of those advocacy positions at all. And also, as you know, and I certainly know, oftentimes the chairman needs someone in that room who will speak the unspeakable,
Right.
you know, and say, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Okay, it's going to cost us some money to not do that, or whatever the implications are. But and the chairman, in many cases, he knew that all along.
Yeah.
He just wanted somebody in the room to say it, and then he can say, well, I agree.